All right, today I'm here with Roger Harrison. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what branch of the military did you serve in?
Navy.
Navy. Cool. Was that right out of high school, or did you kind of piddle around a little bit?
Right out of high school.
You knew exactly what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Why the Navy?
I had a friend of mine that was in the Navy. He was a chief, and he kind of talked me into it.
Said the Navy is the place for you.
Well, he had all them stories and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So how much older was he?
Probably about 6 years.
Okay, so he kind of had some experience under his belt that you kind of were like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Roger brought in some photos, and you're on an aircraft carrier, which is really awesome stuff. And this was from Desert Storm?
Yep.
So a lot of people think, Navy, you're on boats, which couldn't be further from the truth because of everything, especially at that point. Back in World War II times, and it was probably more accurate. But now, my best friend is in a pilot. He's in the Navy, and he's been a pilot for 10 years. So Blackhawks, and now the big, whatever those things are called, they're not 747s, they're bigger than that, whatever they are. But so you actually dealt with flight, is that right?
I didn't fly.
You didn't fly, but you dealt with
Yes.
you dealt with planes. Yeah.
I was an aircraft mechanic.
Okay.
Aviation hydraulics.
So dad you have any kind of mechanic experience before you went in or anything like that?
Nope. They taught me everything I knew.
Did you was this one of those instances where you were like, I want to learn that, I'll do that, or is it, hey, guess what? This is what you tested and this is what you're doing?
It was almost a, hey, guess what?
Really?
Yeah, and they said, we'll send you to school. You'll be a hydraulicsman. I said, fine, let's go. So that's what I did.
So did you have something else in mind that you wanted to try?
No.
It was just whatever you give me, I'll do it.
I just wanted to go in it. But I wanted to go in aviation. I didn't want to be on the tin cans.
You didn't want to be underneath.
I wanted to be on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, gotcha. How long did you stay in for?
21 years.
So you did your full career.
Yep.
Nice. And did you spend any time overseas other than Desert Storm?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
I made quite a few deployments. My first 4 years was mostly over in the Mediterranean.
Okay.
On the John F. Kennedy. And then after that, it was a lot of shore-based squadrons.
Yeah.
So that got me off the ships.
Yeah.
So anti-submarine down in Jacksonville, BP outfits.
Okay.
Those were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Planes went out, we stayed on shore.
And you just kind of watch the fort and make sure everything's cool.
Yeah, milked it out for 5 years.
Yeah, I bet, especially being in the time that you were, this is kind of where you start to see technology really going quickly.
Oh yeah.
And I would imagine you guys were just constantly, guess what? There's this new thing. You got to go train here, and this is something else you got to learn.
Exactly, but the big difference I witnessed is when I first went in, and then I was on station on the John F. Kennedy, compared to where I did a break-in cruise on the Eisenhower. What a difference. We had the soda machines with the cups. They had actual soda machines.
Yeah.
And games, and now they got where you can talk to your wife on the cell phone and everything.
Yeah.
We didn't have that.
Oh, no.
We had to wait till we pulled in port to call your wife, and weeks gone by then.
And they're freaking out at home.
Yeah, now you can watch your kids. They really got it made now.
Yeah, and I would assume that it's a lot easier for the guys that are on the ship, too, with that, in regards to that kind of at-home connection.
Well, yeah, because when we were gone, my first 2 deployments were 9 and 11 months. And I was married, so that's a long time. But now, you can talk to your wife tomorrow morning and the kids, and so that makes a big difference.
I don't know if I've ever actually told this story when I've done an interview before, but you bring it up, so I'm going to tell it again. If I already have, I apologize. My stepfather's career, he was, I want to say, 7-8 Marine, and then he finished career in Army, probably 18 years. He still works for Department of Defense in K-State they have a Department of Defense wing for the agricultural school. I don't know what they do there, but it's very important, okay, whatever it is. But when Afghanistan happened in the early 2000s, he was part of the crew that kind of went and set it up. So it's not like it was at the beginning, at the end where they had facilities and things, they would basically go set it up and move on. And so kind of basically what you're saying here is my mom would go weeks without hearing from him, and somehow he was able, and they were very strict. No communication, no sat phones, nothing. Well, my mom, being who my mom is, basically helped him smuggle in a sat phone. Okay, so word in his group kind of got around that, hey, Hansford's got a a sat phone. So the guys would be like, hey man, I haven't talked to my wife in like a week. Can I call him? And she'd be like, yeah, just, DL, just keep it on the DL. He said this one went on for weeks, and then finally his CEO called him in and said, Sergeant Hansford, I hear that you're the man to talk to if I want to get a hold of someone at home. And he's like, oh God, I'm so screwed. And he goes, no, it's fine. Just let me see your phone. I got to call my wife. So that's kind of how it was in the beginning. Until now, obviously, where like you could FaceTime with them from wherever you are,
During the Gulf War, we actually had phone booths on the flight deck. When we would park every now and then, like every 45 days, to take a break from everything.
Yeah.
And they would have phone booths. You go in, and then you would have to sit there and wait for the operator.
Yeah.
And it was $3 a minute.
Yeah.
Now these guys are.
And the time changed, because you'd be over there, it'd be afternoon, it'd be 2 in the morning here or whatever. Yeah, I was with her several times with a phone to ring in the middle of the night. It'd be him.
I was lucky. I was on the America. They waited till we got out through the Suez Canal, and as soon as we popped out, it was the next night. The skipper came in and said, "We're at war." And the day after that, we started launching them off the front end.
Yeah.
Stacked.
Yeah, for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Consistently.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Would you do it again if you had the chance?
Absolutely.
Really? Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What'd you do after? So you made a full career. You retired. Did you decide to do anything after you got out or anything like that?
Oh yeah. I've retired 3 times already.
3 different careers?
Well, actually, I went to prison for 8 years.
Okay.
But I was on the other side of the bars in Florida.
I was like, well, I can't wait for this story. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were a guard for a little bit?
They call them correction officers.
Correction officer, excuse
Sergeant.
me. You're right. Yeah.
I was a sergeant down in Florida.
Okay.
And actually, I was in the Florida Keys, so that wasn't bad at all.
No, I can't imagine. I bet for the guys on the other side of the bars, it was probably a little aggravating to smell that sea air and not be able to touch the beach,
Yeah, kind of. But they had work crews. They got out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then after I retired from that job, I moved up to Wisconsin, and I was happy with being retired. And one day I got a phone call, and there was some guy from a machine shop saying he got my application. I didn't put in the application. My wife did. She got tired of looking at me for a year.
You got to do something.
So I did 8 years in a machine shop and left them. And after that, I'm done.
Yeah, you put your time in, for sure. That's
exactly.
Awesome. Well, Roger, thank you so much for sharing your story with me, and thank you so much for your service. I really appreciate you coming to lunch today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to the wife for submitting you, just like she did with the...
that was another surprise.
Yeah, I know. Who's this guy? What?
Did you hear that part on the phone?
No. But I'm glad you came nonetheless. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.